What is up, sports bettors? It is Matt Modi here with OddsJam, coming to you to give some college football week one best bets, specifically in the Ohio State versus Notre Dame game, as you can see on the screen here. Pretty epic matchup that we have in week one. In my opinion, the best game that we have in week one, I think, from my knowledge of the betting slate for college football week one. Two top five ranked teams in Ohio State and Notre Dame, with Ohio State, of course, being the home team here. Unsurprisingly, Ohio State is a massive, massive favorite, which makes sense. Like I said, they are the home team, and they come in with a ton more familiarity than Notre Dame. They return head coach Ryan Day, and they return quarterback CJ Stroud. And Ohio State comes into the season, I would imagine, with a sour taste in their mouth after how the previous season ended. Everyone remembers they missed the college football playoffs because they lost to Michigan at the end of the year. First time they had missed the playoffs in a while under Coach Ryan Day. So they're going to come in with a sour taste in their mouth and an improved unit. In my opinion, they're an improved team from what they were last year. Granted, they lost two receivers in Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, but Ohio State has become known as wide receiver U for a reason. They just pump out elite talent at the wide receiver position. This year being no different, led by wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba. And he's coupled with, of course, quarterback CJ Stroud, who just lit up college football in his first year as a starter, finished with just under 72% completion percentage of his passes for 44 touchdowns to only 6 interceptions. This Ohio State offense is going to be absolutely loaded. If I were to pick nits and point out an area in which they might not be completely elite, I would say it's at offensive line. But they did just hire a new offensive line coach to help to solidify the unit. So we will see there. Really, what was the bugaboo of Ohio State last year was their defense, right? They gave up over 30 points on 5 separate occasions. Didn't have the stout defense that we're used to seeing in Columbus out of Ohio State. So what did Ryan Day do? He landed a big fish in the offseason, hiring Jim Knowles to lead the defense as defensive coordinator. Knowles, for those of you who are unaware, previously led a top 5 defensive unit at Oklahoma State, which was pretty much deemed impossible. A team having a top 5 defensive unit in the Big 12, nobody thought was possible. So you hope that he can clean up the unit, because Ohio State is going to have talent. They have 5-star recruits up and down the roster. You just hope a coach can bring it out of them. So Ohio State, I think, is going to be, this isn't a hot take, obviously, going to be one of the best teams in college football. I think when it's all said and done, they could possibly have the best offense in college football. And they're going against a team in Notre Dame that is dealing with some changes. So Brian Kelly, after 12 years coaching in South Bend, is leaving. Him and his fake accent are leaving for LSU and replaced by Marcus Freeman. Freeman, of course, has been at Notre Dame, seems to be absolutely beloved by his players, but he's still a new head coach, and there's always going to be uncertainty and likely growing pains for a new head coach. Having his first game being against Ohio State is just cruel. I think it's going to be really tough, obviously. Away game at Ohio State is a tough first game of your tenure. And they have some question marks, most notably on offense. They have 2 potential quarterback options, both who showed some promise in limited playing time last year, but are still unreliable. While they will be good offensive line, on the offensive line, they'll be stout. They have questions at skill positions at at wide receiver. The only strong position they have is tight end Michael Mayer, who is an absolute stud, but they don't have much outside of him at wide receiver. So you figure they might struggle on offense in this game, specifically against Ohio State. And while I do think at the end of the year, Notre Dame is going to have a very, very good defensive unit, they still have a new defensive coordinator, their 3rd defensive coordinator in 3 years. And again, they're going against an Ohio State team that is just loaded. So looking at the odds here, which I should have gotten to earlier, the Ohio State money line is priced at minus 758. Of course, I pulled up all these odds on oddsjam.com. Just go to sport, NCAAF, or you can type in the game here. Just type in either one of these 2 teams. The game will pop up. But Ohio State money line priced at minus 758. Their Notre Dame money line is priced at plus 471. Obviously, I'm not really touching a money line play here. Of course, I think Ohio State's going to win, but I'm certainly not taking their money line at minus 650. And Notre Dame, if you want to sprinkle maybe like a tenth of a unit, like $10 or something on Notre Dame plus 475, I don't think is the worst bet in the world, but I would be shocked if they won. What's more interesting is looking at the point spread. So as of right now, pretty set at the point spread being at 15.5. Every single book has Ohio State minus 15.5, which is very frustrating for me because earlier I looked and I was able to get them at 14.5, but by the time I recorded this video, the odds had shifted. Now they are across the board at 15.5 with some value at 15.5 if you compare specifically to Bet Online. Bet Online is another sharp sports book. Of course, the OddsJam line is the sharpest line in the world. They a little bit favor Notre Dame at this spread of plus 15.5, but very, very slightly. But if you look at Bet Online, they favor Ohio State in this one. They think Ohio State at minus 115 odds is more likely to cover the 15.5 spread. So for me, even though this is not a positive EV bet as of right now, I'm actually riding with Ohio State. So I got them at 14.5. I'm going to ride with them again at 15.5. So this bet has been locked in, as you can see on the screen here. Locked it in, $50 at Ohio State minus 15.5. So again, it's not a positive expected value play as of right now, but the whole goal of sports betting is to just beat the closing line. So getting this now is not positive EV, but I do think that it's going to be something that will beat the closing line at the end of the day. And again, sports betting, all you're trying to do is you're trying to generate positive closing line value, which I think this will be. So I'm riding with Ohio State minus 15.5. Again, as you can see here, that has been locked in on Caesars. And then looking at the total, I don't really have a great play here. The total is priced at about 58.5 for every book, except for Bet Online, which has it at 58. Team total odds haven't been posted yet. Once they do, I'm going to aggressively take Ohio State's over 36.5. That is the play that I like, but I wouldn't be surprised if Notre Dame scored under 20. So even though Ohio State might go over their total, I'm not confident that Notre Dame will score enough to have the full game total go over. So I'm sitting out on a full game total, and as soon as odds get posted for Ohio State team total, I'm going to hammer that over because I think that's a really good bet. So all in all, in terms of handicapping this Ohio State Notre Dame game, I am riding with Ohio State. I think they have enough offensively to score points against Notre Dame, and I just don't think Notre Dame has enough to keep up. I think it could get ugly, and it could get ugly quick. So that's going to be my official pick, sitting out the total, Ohio State minus 15.5. So if you're tailing these bets, or I guess this one bet, not these bets, would love to hear it. I love hearing feedback, positive, negative, neutral, anything you guys can give me is super helpful. Other than that, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the OddsJam YouTube channel. Super helpful stuff as well. And that's it. So thank you guys for watching and have a good one.